President Trump has always been willing to negotiate with China, but he's never really trusted Beijing. Chinese lies and misinformation over the coronavirus outbreak is the latest example of why the U.S. can't trust the communist regime. Tennessee Senator Marsha Blackburn echoes that sentiment. She recently sent a letter to her colleagues on Capitol Hill, urging them not to take up any measures with Chinese companies or government officials. She writes, quote, "Please join me in warning Beijing that any Chinese agent of repression, even those dressed in business suits to disguise the green Maoist uniforms that they support, are not welcome to step foot on our offices or to lobby our staff," end quote. We now welcome Senator Marsha Blackburn. Senator, thank you for being here with us.
To be with you. Thank you. Yes.
Senator, first of all, I want to say thank you for standing up to China. You've been a leader in this effort. You've introduced the Stop COVID Act, which would allow American citizens to sue China. Here's my concern, though. I'm all for it. I applaud you for those efforts. My concern is that we have growing, escalating tension with China right now. They have been conducting provocative military exercises in the South China Sea. So my question to you is, how far can we go without crossing that line and antagonizing them?
Well, Sean, the thing is, it is not just us, it is our allies who are looking to hold China accountable for what they have done with the COVID-19 pandemic. And here is something going back to Lindsay's point on the letter. You can depend on China to lie, to cheat, and to steal. They have done that for decades. They have made a habit of trying to take our jobs. And what did they do? They sent us a virus. They wanted us to become dependent on them for so many of our supply chains. And now what we're doing is saying, hey, wait a minute. We know what you've been doing for decades. When it comes to consumer goods, when it comes to pharmaceuticals, when it comes to telecommunications, when it comes to chips. And now we look at what you have done with COVID-19. So we are going to allow, through the Stop COVID Act, our citizens to sue the Chinese Communist Party for not being truthful about what was happening with COVID-19. They knew they had an outbreak. They knew they had a pandemic. They chose to say nothing. They were hoarding PPE from around the globe because they knew this pandemic was coming. Then they upped the price on it. Then France needs to buy some. And what do? They say, if you take Huawei as your telecommunication system, we will allow you to purchase this PPE. That is what we're dealing with. We basically have moved to a Cold War footing with China, and it is time that we treat them as such and show them we're not going to put up with this.
It's interesting you use the word Cold War because the foreign minister of China, Wang Yi, actually used those words and said that we continue to, it looks like we're drifting towards a Cold War. But there was an article in the Global Times, which is pretty much a Chinese-sponsored publication. Let me read this to you. It says, quote, "Republicans who have been groundlessly accusing China and inflaming the holding China accountable political farce will face severe consequences," sources said, noting that the aftermath will impact the upcoming elections, that's us in the U.S., while business and trade between Missouri and China will be further soured. Are you concerned that, to your point, they keep pushing back? They're using Huawei and other things to go back against our allies, and now they're threatening interfering in our elections. And so whether that's you or other members of the United States Senate or Congress, are you concerned that this pushback is going to force them to do stuff that would meddle in our upcoming elections?
What we know is that China has had a plan for, they look at it as the 100-year marathon, the China dream, and it is global dominance. We are aware that that is their goal. We're very watchful, but I have to tell you, Sean, this is why we said time and again, you cannot do business with Huawei. We will not let our military have TikTok on any of their social media. We do not allow many of these entities into our governmental system, because we know that they are trying to set up a spy network. They're using Huawei as the backbone of this. And you have to bear in mind that all of these China technology companies, they are state-owned companies, and that means the Chinese Communist Party owns this. So we just know you can't trust them, and that's why you have to guard against them, and that's why you have to know much of what they're putting out is going to be misinformation.
Well, Senator, one of the things also that Senator Cotton has been very outspoken about in saying that this is part of the arm of the China's Communist Party as spyware is students that come into the U.S., specifically ones who are studying our technologies. He has said that they should not be allowed to study here in America. Where do you stand on that?
Well, Lindsay, we have to look instead of, or in addition to what Senator Cotton has said, we have to be paying attention to these Confucius Institutes that are currently on 81 U.S. university campuses. We have one still operating in Tennessee. But we know that China says this is a part of their soft power, and it's a way they spread their propaganda. Now, China, these are funded by the Chinese Communist Party. They are paying universities to have these on their campuses. They started out as supposedly cultural exchanges and teaching Mandarin. We know that this is very much a part of their propaganda. Those need to be shut down. And even more frightening is in K through 12 schools, we have 500 Confucius classrooms that are around the country. Now, I don't know exactly what these teachers think they are teaching these children with these Confucius classrooms, but according to the Chinese Communist Party, we got some propaganda in there.
Senator, thank you for joining us, and thank you for your efforts to hold China accountable, especially when it comes to Huawei, TikTok. Thank you for being a leader in this effort. It is so important, and I appreciate you sounding the alarm bell on this.
We're going to stay on it, Sean. So good to see you. Stay safe.
Thank you. You too. All right. Well, coming up, a new op-ed by a former CBS News president reaffirms what we've been telling you all along. The mainstream media, which is supposed to be fair and neutral, is overwhelmingly liberal and hates President Trump.